Hi, I'm Walt Wager, and what I'm going to do today is look at two different versions of the Merlin 2. The older machine has a shaft lock on it up here. Uh, the newer machine doesn't. The company that used to make these machines was bought out by a new company, and they're expressing the idea that more quality control is embedded in this machine. And so we're going to just look at this today and see how it does compared to the old machine. Um, Now, they're basically the same machine in terms of the motor and the drive train. They do have a different type of securing system for the discs on the top now, since it has the new machine does not have the shaft lock. That was one thing that was creating a problem with the old machine, and it would if someone hit this button while the machine was running, it would it would cause a problem. So I'm going to take a second to make the old machine the same as the new machine in terms of the material that's put on it, and then we'll create a spiral hollow form similar to this. I've already played with the new machine and created this basket, and this is a vase that was done with the old machine. So they work in the same way. It's just that the newer machine is going to be more reliable, and we'll see how it works with regard to power and noise. So I'm going to take a break now and go fix the old machine so that it has the same disc as the new machine. Okay, I'm back, and I've outfitted both machines with the same disc. We call it the green disc. It's a double-sided disc. Of course, this is a red version of the green disc, and they come in different coarsenesses or different grits, if you will, want to say it that way, like sandpaper. The red's more aggressive and more uh, rough than the green disc. So the green disc is the finest of them. If you buy it, it's going to be this color. I've used mine enough that they don't have any color anymore. But that doesn't, they're carbide and they cut just as well. So the one thing you might notice right away about the two is that the newer machine, this machine here, has a dust control, a guard over the switch, which is very nice. You don't want dust in your switch. All right, so we're going to test these together. Before we do that, I've got to prepare this chunk of wood to be carved. And this is a sphere, so I'm going to use a spindle gouge. This is end grain. We round it off. And just to steady it and for safety reasons, because it's on a glue block, I'm just going to bring the tailstock up to hold it, give it some support. I want to know where I want to first round it off, just rough it to round. Anchor, bevel, pick up your cut. That's got it. And here we'll call this the middle. And then I'll give me a middle line to work from. Obviously, I can't go all the way down to the bottom because it's glued onto that piece of wood there, but I'm going to have to estimate where the bottom would be. All right, close enough for now. So now I'm going to make some lines on here so I know where to cut the grooves for my my spiral. And I have an index on here. This is straight up, and I'm in the middle. I'm going to put in some horizontal lines. And I'm going to make some cut lines. Now I'm going to, this is going to be a eight bind coliform. I'm going to come up to 2 rows and over one. All right, so those are my cut lines. The next stage of this is go ahead and cut these spines, and that's where we use the Merlin. So I'm going to start with the old Merlin, about 8 years old. I'm running at a full speed. And I have a spacer I made that I put on the back of this cutter so that I'm cutting an even depth groove in here. This is a new Merlin. Same cutter. The slider. I can tell right away that it's not as vibrating as much as the older one, probably because the bearings are new and the gears are tight. But they're cutting both cutting very well. So now what I have to do is hollow this, and I'm going to hollow it down to the point where sawdust starts to come out of the bottom of these grooves. And one's a little heavier than the other. Good, the little one's good for getting right up here on top. I want to keep the shaft of straight shaft out on the tool rest. I see sawdust coming out of the grooves, and you'll see it in a minute. What that tells me now is that I need to move further on. The idea is that if I keep to the bottom of this groove and I get all the way down the bottom, I'll have even wall thickness all the way around. Okay. Well, stop and check it. This is no time to be in a hurry. Blow out some of the dust. I get a little more reach with this tool. See where I am. So if I'm at the end here, I'm right down on the bottom. So I'm down here, down pretty close. I think that'll do it. So now what I'm going to do is come back to the Merlin, and I'm going to stick with the newer Merlin, put mine away, and I'm going to cut down through that. Still not really nice and smooth and quiet. And then I'm going to shape the binds to make them more even in width. And I got a great suggestion when I demoed this at SWAT, and the person there said, well, why don't you take some thin tape and put it on there so you know how thick to cut them. And this is automobile striping tape. I'm just going to mark the bind with that. It's flexible enough to give me that spiral look. It's just a guide. It's just a way to visualize where you're going to be taking off of some of the wood between these binds. We'll go back to the Merlin. The disc has cutters on both sides, carbide on both sides, and I'm going to come up as close to the line as I can. I might mention one of the advantages of the Merlin is that it is light enough to handle with one hand. Now these binds have to be rounded off, and this is kind of an aggressive disc to start rounding things. You can take wood, as you see, you can take wood away very quickly. So there are other adapters and other tools you can put onto the Merlin, and I'll talk about that now. One of those tools, is called a rotolock adapter, and the rotolock screws into the shaft on the tool. A rotolock adapter can take all kinds of accessories, from buffing discs to hook and loop sanders, or if you're using a bowl, if you're going to, if you use this to sand a bowl. It's got flat discs. It's got 3M fiber discs. It's got abrasive rubber discs. It's got hook and loop. And what we're going to do is we're just going to use a plain ordinary sanding disc. This is a 60 grit disc. I'm going to put that into the rotolock like that and use that to start rounding off some of the fines on this piece. Now there's all kinds of other adapters too that come for the Merlin that are less aggressive than the carbide discs that I use. Like this one has a rounded edge on it and can be used for this purpose too. But I'm going to use the rotolock. So generally, you want to slow your speed down for sanding a bit. I'm just coming along on the edge of this fine, the edge of my tape. I already have it at the thickness I want. All I'm trying to do is round them off. Sometimes this can get springy because these are getting thin. So I can bring this up, just not to push on it, just to hold it so that it doesn't flex so much. You can still turn it, you can still work on the edges, but it just doesn't flex so much. I'm sanding out all the lumps and bumps that I can see that are obvious in here. And nothing like this comes without some pain. So the next step is basically taking some sanding strips. I start with 180. Coming up from the bottom and the top and rounding these off. And again, the having this in this chuck makes a difference because it helps you hold it and keep it from flexing too much while you sand it. So the object is like polishing your shoes. Again, it helps to have the spindle lock so it doesn't move while you're working on the bind. J-Flex sandpaper is marketed by Klingspor Tools. It's got a soft cotton back, very strong, an industrial abrasive, lasts a long time. Abrasive brush. The abrasive brush is best used when you're kind of a finishing up tool. You can't really shape around the bottom with it. But there are other tools, other things that you can do with this tool that for bowl turning, for spindle turning, that make it a great tool for your toolbox. So I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'll come back later when I have it finished. I've been working on this for about 45 minutes, And we talked about the abrasive disc on the Merlin that can kind of put a finishing touch on the spine. So there's a lot of possibilities. When I cut this off, I'll cut it off because I'm pretty much done sanding with the vines, and I can always put it between centers. When I cut this off, I'll use a parting tool. And one way of doing this so that you don't lose it like this, put a pencil in there all the way through. Remember this, the hole goes all the way through. There it is, no pain. You're chasing it across the floor unless you drop it some other time. So it's coming along. I need some more work up in here in the top. I take a finial, 1/2 inch hole in the top and a 1/2 inch hole in the bottom. And by the time I'm done, I'll have a Christmas ornament. And there you go, spiral hollow form. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this, leave me a note. My website is waltwager.com. And you can see other examples of my work there. So thanks for watching, and have a great time turning.